What do you do when the NBA tells you your product is banned? Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Brand Out. My name is Tony Nash, aka the BrandFather, and this podcast is hosted by me and my team of branding experts here at AZEE Branding Solution. Our goal is to help you grow your brand from A to Z. So, what do you do when the NBA tells you your product is banned? I say you turn to the most legendary sneaker of all time. We're going to get into it. If you've been paying attention, you've probably seen Nike's or Air Jordan's new ad called "You Can't Ban Greatness." We're going to watch it together here, but I want to bring on not only our resident video expert and the video guy for our podcast, but our resident Jordans expert or sneaker expert, and that is Micah Nash. Micah, welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a topic that I love. I've been collecting Jordans since 8th or 9th grade. Been in the game for a while now. At one point, considered myself an expert. So I'm excited to talk about this today. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, this will be a fun topic. And I recently wrote an article about this very marketing campaign that Nike is running. I mean, is it Nike or Jordan brand? I guess it's a collaboration.
Jordan brand through Nike.
Jordan brand is running, and it's fantastic. It is absolutely incredible. And you can see the article at AZEE Branding Solution or azeebranding.com/blog. We update blogs almost weekly on there. You can get lots of content about the brands we love and that we do. But before we lace up on this episode, make sure that you follow us on all the socials, subscribe to our YouTube and TikTok channels to get regular content about branding. Make sure you click the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of Brand Out. We're excited specifically about this topic today because we're going to talk about not just the commercial, but this whole brilliant marketing campaign. So before we get into it, let's watch this commercial together, and then we'll have some conversation about it.
In 1984, Nike created the revolutionary Air Jordan 1. 1 month later, they were banned from the game. Nike could have paid a fine, but they didn't.
It was $5,000 every game.
And it changed everything. The Air Jordan was a massive failure. There were no more signature shoes, no catchphrases,
Money's gotta be
no sneakerheads, and no subtle nods. Basketball never went international.
This flight is canceled.
And no kid wanted to be anything like Mike. The rebels, the fearless, the fashionable, all wore something else? Wait, Khaled never said, "We the What do you mean Travis never became a flame? Now Jackson has no swagger? HU lost their flair. There's no sports channel. Red isn't cool. Shorts are shorter. Bald is bad again. No one knows those letter numbers? And your parents never met? All because this guy didn't want to pay a fine?
What?
Someone should have told him. You can't ban greatness. Air Jordan.
Another one bites the dust. Dude, what a fantastic
Legendary
commercial. From the song choice to the whole what if story is just absolutely amazing. We'll dig into it here. But for those watching who don't know the story, let's give them a little bit of the backstory. So if you've seen the movie Air, you probably also know this story. There's also a famous clip of Michael Jordan on David Letterman talking about this very issue. But the Nike, a struggling shoe brand in the early 80s, was not a basketball brand at all. Actually, Converse and Adidas were kind of the leading basketball sneaker brands, and they knew they needed to get a good athlete, and they made a big pitch to get Michael Jordan, and they designed what I think is the perfect sneaker, the Air Jordan 1. It's absolutely incredible. Probably my favorite Jordan, or definitely in my top 3 or 4 favorite Jordan. And because at that time the NBA had a rule that the shoes had to be primarily white, and this was a red and black design to match the Bulls uniform, they were going to have to pay a $5,000 fine every single game that Jordan wore them. So not only did they offer Jordan the biggest shoe contract that there was at that time, they also agreed to pay the $5,000 fine for every game.
Well, not even that. This was the first ever player signature shoe. So Nike was the first brand to really dig into a player signature shoe. Originally, you'd have, if a player signed with with an organization like Converse, you would have the same shoe model, but maybe this player had their own colorway. So the shoe model for the players was all the same. So Nike was the first to bring about the player designed shoe,
The Air Jordan.
The Air Jordan, exactly.
Yeah, and so it was a big gamble for Nike. Like I said, if you've seen the movie, if you haven't seen the movie Air, go watch the movie Air. It tells the whole story. It's really, really an incredible story. But the commercial, the marketing campaign is really what we want to talk about today, because they took something which the Air Jordan created a complete culture, a culture of sneakerheads, a culture of fashion, a culture of people who wanted to be like Mike of basketball. The commercial explains over and over, this wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have had international players. Nobody would have want to be like Mike. It shows some of the subcultures with the skate culture that Nike SB and Jordan has done. And some of the famous musicians and celebrities and Travis Scott and all these things.
Saying that red wouldn't be popular if it wasn't for Michael. Saying that being bald wouldn't be popular. One of the ones that I noticed being a sneakerhead is the subtle nod. Being a sneakerhead, you see someone wearing a nice pair of J's, you give them a nice little nod.
You always recognize it. Yes, absolutely. Whenever I see someone with a good pair of sneakers, and of course, I also have been collecting sneakers for a very long time, and most days when you see me, I'll be wearing a pair of Jordans. But man, so Nike kind of gives you this. It's kind of cool because Marvel just did this whole what if series, like what if this happened or this person was this, and they just kind of gave you like the world today. What if Jordan, or what if Nike execs decided not to pay that $5,000 fine? That's really what it came down to, because once the deal was signed, there was this caveat. Nike really didn't have the money, but they said, we're going to pay the fine. And what a brilliant move. It could have gone one of two ways. It could have broke Nike, but it ended up becoming this thing that is now this cultural phenomenon, this brand that is probably the most recognized brand worldwide. That is the Jordan brand. You see the Jordan brand on football teams, NASCAR, hockey teams, baseball teams, track and field, at the Olympics. You saw, I mean, it is a global brand, and what an incredible thing.
Well, to even add to the risk, they made this signature shoe and signed this player who had never played an NBA game, never set foot on an NBA court. They signed him, they gave him his own signature shoe, not knowing what his career would look like. He wasn't even the number one pick.
Number 3.
Having no idea what his career would look like. But, they had the vision and they saw
Sonny
his
Vaccaro
potential. Yep, Sonny.
Saw something in Jordan that's like, this guy's going to be different. And Phil Knight did not see it. He's like, I don't know. But he sold him on it. He was persistent, and he did this thing. And so, again, I don't want to fully get into the whole backstory, because you can go watch the movie Air. You can do a Google search. But I want to talk about this campaign. This campaign where they took that thing and they came up with this marketing campaign, because they're re-releasing that Jordan band shoe, the red and black one.
It's the most true to form model since the original back in the day.
Yeah, and I don't really like it. I'd like to get my hands on one because it's a grail. It's one of those shoes that you want to have in your collection. Although the likelihood of getting it at retail is very small, and resale on it is probably going to be crazy. So I don't know if I'll get my hands on one. So currently, the shoe has already been released. It was released on Valentine's Day, and the campaign leading up to it, if there wasn't enough hype already, the campaign built a lot of hype. The campaign called "You Can't Ban Greatness." Of course, it starts with this little short film with the whole what if story. Then it retells the legendary 1985, the whole band story in a fresh, modern way. But it emphasized how this defiance, this idea to go against the grain, to go against the rules, it really shaped sneaker culture. I mean, think about it today. If Jordans didn't exist, would there be such a thing as sneakerheads? Would people care that much? Because every sneakerhead, the majority of their collection is Jordan or Nike.
Yep.
Yeezy for a while really came on the scene and was popular. Obviously, there are Adidas that you want to have. There's maybe a few Converse that you want to have. There's rarely any Reeboks that you want to have. There's a few, but most shoes that people look for and that are coveting if they're sneakerheads are Jordans. And so the whole thing was absolutely great. And then they took the statue at the United Center, the Jordan statue, the famous, Jumpman, and they put black boxes over top of the shoe that was banned. If you notice in the commercial, every time they showed the shoe or showed the Jordan logo, it had a black band logo over it because that's what they did back in the 80s.
Well, and they're doing all this before they release this commercial about, you can't ban greatness. So you see all these things happening. You see the statue with the band on it, kind of, what's happening? Why are they banning this? What's going on? What's this whole theme?
They're creating this.
Yeah, creating this storyline even
Hype.
before you even know what it's about, this momentum.
Yeah. And so it's kind of given this idea of this is censored and you can't see it. Even though, again, that shoe by itself would probably been really hyped. By them doing what they did, it made everybody want to get their hands on one of those shoes. And honestly, it's not the best looking Jordan. Actually, Jordan says on that David Letterman commercial, he thinks it's ugly.
Yep.
I mean, the colorway that you see in the background there with the Chicago Bulls colorway is my favorite. And then on their social media, they did a blackout. So they actually temporarily deactivated their Instagram and Twitter accounts. People recognize what's going on. It was all part of the whole censored. You can't ban greatness.
They even on their app, if you were to look up Air Jordan 1, it would ban all the versions of Air Jordan 1 they're selling on Nike's website or on Air Jordan's website. So.
Yeah. So it was a whole campaign. And it created mystery. It created buzz. It created a lot of discussion. It created a lot of people like us having a conversation about it. And then when the accounts came back, it amplified and it gave more engagement and hype to that. So what I think is cool is it connects the old and the new generations.
Yeah.
Like obviously you were not around when the first shoe came out, but you love it maybe even more than I do.
Yeah.
I was 4 years old when it happened, but I remember the Air Jordan. I mean, I remember watching Jordan at his peak. In the commercials, I want to be like Mike, the Spike Lee commercials, and everybody wanted a pair of Jordans. Now we used to play basketball in them.
Yeah.
Like we would buy these $150 shoes even in those days, and we'd go play basketball and just wreck them, play basketball outside in them. Now today, most guys aren't wearing them for basketball. It's kind of become a fashion shoe, especially Jordans 1 through 12, maybe a 13 or a 14 every now and then.
Well, nowadays, if you do wear them for basketball, you're kind of looked down upon. If I see a guy pulling up to the court in Air Jordan 1s, I'm kind of like, what are you doing?
Why are you ruining those
Why are
shoes?
you ruining those shoes? Exactly.
And really, Jordan is showing that brands can evolve over time. It didn't need to just be like guys my age like it, but I like to think I had a part in passing down my love for basketball and sneakers to my kids. And as soon as, Micah started liking basketball, he wanted to get some Jordans, not to wear on the court, but he just realized like that's the thing. What was it, Micah, that made you really start liking Jordans in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Just something about them. I just liked how it was something so subtle that I could. It's like basically the foundation for how I would express myself, on the outside. The shoes are the foundation of your fit, if you want to say. And so I feel like it's important to start from the bottom and work your way up. And so having these things that there's so many different forms, there's so many different colors, there's so much hype around them that it's something that you could just show to express yourself, and something that's not something too crazy or out there. But if you have a nice pair of J's on, you can look like a boss, and that's kind of what drew me in. Is like these Jordans are these coveted things, and I want to have that, and just part of the basketball culture as well. Like if I want to be the best, I gotta wear the best and look the best and feel the best. So.
What's Dion say? If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. And that is true, right? I mean, you always wanted to have, especially growing up, and even now, you want to have the right sneakers on, especially when you're out there playing. And then even, in every day, like I said, it's gone from just a basketball shoe to really a fashion thing. And so the marketing campaign behind it, the branding behind it is an absolute stroke of brilliance. I love it. It's one of my favorite commercials of all time. Jordan, Nike, I applaud you. Great job. But I want to talk about a few key takeaways. What can we as business owners, as a branding agency, what can brands, personal brands, businesses that are watching, what can we take away from this? And so I have a couple things here that I'd like to talk about. Number one is use storytelling to create a brand that people identify with. Use storytelling. So your brand is more than a logo. It's more than just the aesthetics. It's more than the fonts. It's your story. Do you tell your story? What is your story? Is your story unique? Your product. What's the story behind your product? Why did you decide to start selling that product? Why did you start trying to make that food? You own a restaurant. What was your passion behind the food that you do? What's the recipes? What's the story? Give people a look into what's going on. Jordan Brand's not just selling sneakers at all, really. They're selling a cultural movement. Like they're selling something that people want to be a part of. Like Micah said, he He saw it as a status symbol, as someone who looks like a boss, and he wanted to be part of that. So what's the story behind your brand? What is your story? If you're just pushing product all the time and you're not connecting with people, you're not telling a story, you're missing out on opportunity. Number 2, turn controversy into marketing gold. We did an episode on Liquid Death, who's done the same thing. They took all the negative PR that they get and just use it as their own marketing strategy. Wendy's does this really well. And Jordan said they took this thing that was controversial, well, you're not allowed to wear those, and they turned it into this defiance, this greatness, this I want to be like Mike. And it flipped a negative ban into a branding win. So how can your business do that? You've had some setbacks. How can your business turn that into a win? Something you learn from, something you win against and decide to do something. Number 3, make bold moves. Make bold marketing moves. Don't just go with the status quo. Do things that are outside of the box. We sometimes get guilty of this here at AZEE in that we want everything to look right, sound right, be right. And we always have to remind ourselves that brands that blend in get forgotten. You have to stand out. That's what brand out is all about. It's a play on the word stand out. You got to stand out with your brand. And so you got to find ways to do that. The social media blackout, I mean, that's a risky move. You close your two of your biggest accounts for a couple of days. That's a risky move. What if people think you're gone? What if people don't come back? And yet they did it and it paid off for them. They were willing to try it. So are you playing it safe in your industry, or are you doing things to differentiate yourself? If you're just like everybody else, you're not going to stand out. You're not going to brand out.
Something I would like to say to that too is like, not only did Nike create a good shoe and a good product, but the person that they backed and who those shoes represented was a GOAT. He was what he epitomized, what he showed was greatness, and he went out there and actually performed. So if you're a business owner and you're preaching, to your customers or your clients or whatever, that you preach, you care about them, you love them, you actually care about their business, are you actually being that as a business owner yourself? Are you actually showing those values that you're preaching? Because if Jordan Brand just made a cool shoe and it wasn't backed by MJ, the story would be totally different.
100%. And they stayed authentic to the brand, and they've signed other Jordan athletes over the years. They've endorsed certain teams that are great. The University of Michigan football was the first football team to wear the Jordan brand, but it is the greatest football program in college football history. They have the most wins. They have the most national championships. And so why would they pick them? They wanted to be associated with greatness. And so you look at some of the associations they've had, they've tried to keep that along the way and find ways to continue to connect with new audiences, but also stay authentic to their brand. And then lastly, you got to own your brand identity. Nike didn't ask for permission. They didn't ask if it was all right. They just did it. All right, we're going to wear these shoes, and then we're going to pay the fine. And they owned their own story, and they made it something great. So, man, how strong is your brand? How strong is your confidence in where you're positioned in the market? How willing are you to do something bold? Think about something that's unique or different. We talked about Liquid Death in another episode where they saw that people were selling water in a bottle, and it was promoted as kind of a healthy thing that you need to sustain life. All the ads show mountain springs and all this wellness stuff, and they decided to go completely against the culture, put it in a tall boy can and give it heavy metal looking branding, and became this countercultural thing that has blew up and turned into $1 billion industry. And so $1 billion business. And so what can you do that's a little outside of the box? What kind of marketing campaign can you run that maybe leans into something that you've become known for, whether it's good or bad? Think about something that you've done that's really resonated with your audience. Like, how can you lean into that and run some sort of a marketing campaign that really builds on it? And if you need help with that, we're here at AZEE to help out. You want to add to that, Micah?
Yeah, I was just saying, you think about in that commercial, it says, well, all this never would have happened because you didn't want to pay a $5,000 fine. And so, maybe in the moment, you're like, man, I have this certain amount of money. I don't know if I can risk it. Well, if they didn't risk the $5,000, they would have never become the multi-billion-dollar company, one of the most valuable companies in the world today. And so, thinking about from our aspect of branding and marketing, are you spending money on things that matter? Yes, maybe it's difficult. Yes, maybe that $5,000, that whatever it may be right now seems like a lot. But would you rather trade that $5,000 now for the millions of dollars of success that you could have later down the road? So be willing to take those risks. Obviously, it worked out for Jordan Brand. So it could work out for you as well.
Well said. Well said. So Jordan Brand proves that branding is not about a product. It's not about a logo, even though the logo is iconic and even though their products are great. It's really about a cultural movement. They built something that they told stories that people identified with. If a band sneaker can become a cultural movement, why can't you do something like that with your brand? Why can't imagine what strong branding for your business might do? So the cool thing about this podcast is we're not just here to share and talk. We want to hear back from you. We want to hear your feedback. We want you to engage with us. You can reach out to us personally. You can send us an email. You can call us if you feel like you need help or you have an idea that you need refining or you just want to do something bold with your brand. Reach out to us here at AZEE Branding Solution. Our team of branding experts would love to meet you, talk to you. And if you have a brand, a business, and you're like, hey, I want you guys to talk about my business. I just did something really cool. I think it'd be a great episode. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to talk to you about what we can do to feature your brand and get it out there to the world. And so let us know. Make sure, again, that you follow us on TikTok. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channels. You're going to get regular content there. And you can find our podcast anywhere a podcast can be found. Now, before we go, we're going to do a little segment with Micah here. Since he claims to be a sneaker expert, we're going to do a little quiz called the Signature Sneaker Quiz. He said Michael Jordan was the first person to get his own signature sneaker.
Yeah.
And now it's a pretty common thing. A
Yeah.
lot of players have had a signature sneaker, but none have been even a drop in the bucket compared to what Jordan has.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you talk about the GOAT debate, LeBron versus MJ.
It's part of the legacy.
Yeah. Nobody's killing themselves to get their hands on a LeBron shoe.
Exactly.
But they are over a Jordan. So what I'm going to do is we're going to name the signature sneaker, and you're going to tell me who that signature sneaker belonged to or who the player represented.
Okay.
These are all basketball, so
Yeah.
I tried to keep them basketball for you. And we have some true or false ones as well. And if you get all 10, then lunch is on me today.
Okay. I thought you were about to say I was going to win a pair of Jordans, but I'll take
Well,
lunch.
hey, you
I'll
know,
take
you
lunch.
got enough of those, but, you know, maybe we can talk about that. If you get all 10, maybe. I don't think you'll get all 10, though. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Which NBA star had a sneaker line called... Also, I'm going to let you answer, but then if you need help, there is multiple choice.
Okay.
Which NBA star had a sneaker line called The Answer?
That is Mr. AI himself, Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. That is correct. It was by Reebok. Which player launched the Starberry sneaker, a budget-friendly basketball shoe?
Mayberry?
So here's the options. Shaquille O'Neal,
Okay.
Stephon Marbury,
That's what it is.
Vince Carter, Latrell Sprewell.
Stephon Marbury.
Stephon Marbury, yep. Yeah, those were a big thing. There was a store called Mitchell & Ness, and they sold them. You could get Starberries for like $25.
That's great.
And the Crazy 8 was the first signature sneaker for which NBA legend?
That's Kobe Bean Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. You know
I
the
actually really like those.
You know
a lot
the
of people
company?
hate them. For Adidas, yeah.
Adidas, yep.
I actually, a lot of people hate those, but I like it's creativity.
This player's sneaker, the Zoom Freak, is known for its bold design and European influence.
That is the Greek freak, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nike. Which NBA legend sneaker was known as the Kamikaze? This is an older one.
Oh, that was Patrick Ewing.
Nope.
Okay. Give me multiple choice.
Scottie Pippen,
Okay.
Dennis Rodman,
Uh-huh.
Sean Kemp, Gary Payton.
Sean Kemp.
It is Sean Kemp.
Hey.
It is Sean Kemp, yeah.
There we
Patrick Ewing made his own
Yeah.
shoe called the Ewing, and they
Yeah.
never were really popular. All right, we're going to do a true or false round, okay, for the last 4 or 5. True or false? Shaquille O'Neal's first signature shoes were made by Nike.
False.
Who were they made by?
He was originally with, I think, Adidas, and then went to N1.
No,
He's always been with N1.
he's never been with N1. Was with Reebok
Right.
for a year and a half.
Yep.
And then he saw a mom coming out, talked to him and said, why are
Yeah.
your shoes so expensive? My boys can't afford it. And he decided that day to leave Reebok, and he started his own shoe that really you can get at Walmart.
Yep.
I mean, he's never been with N1.
That's where the confusion came from. I was used to
Walmart?
seeing those Shacks right next to the N1s.
Not
in
quite the
Walmart.
expert you thought you were.
I
huh?
know.
I mean,
That's a miss on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 7, true or false? LeBron James' first signature sneaker was the Air Max LeBron 1.
True. This is true or false?
True or false?
That's false.
It's actually true.
The Air Max LeBron
It was called
1.
the Air Max LeBron 1.
Interesting.
Nike
Real
launched
creative,
the Air
huh?
Zoom Generation as his debut sneaker. True or false? The Penny Hardaway signature sneaker line is called Lil Penny.
The sneaker line. I know Little Penny was a character that they used to sell the shoes.
Yeah.
So it's a false.
Air Penny was the name of the shoe. Yep. So that was false. True or false? The Adidas Fear of God sneaker was originally designed for Derrick Rose.
That's true. I have heard that story, I think.
That is false. It was designed in collaboration with
false.
Jerry Lorenzo, not for any specific NBA player. Last one.
All right.
Struggling here. I need to get your brother on to see how he does.
Yeah.
True or false?
You're going outside of Nike. That's where my real expertise is
Yeah.
in.
The first Air Jordan sneaker was actually designed for Magic Johnson, but he turned down the deal.
The first Nike sneaker?
The first Air Jordan sneaker. That shoe was
well,
designed
yeah.
for Magic Johnson, but he turned down the deal.
Well, the original shoe that was proposed at Magic Johnson was actually the Nike Blazer. So false. No, yes, it was originally for Magic Johnson. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he was offered stock in Nike, but turned it down, choosing Converse instead. That was the other brilliant thing that Jordan's mom did, is make sure he got a cut of every shoe that was sold.
Yeah, that was a new thing for the time as well. You got a cut.
So I think you got like 6 out of 10 maybe there. So, not as good as I thought you would have done.
Yeah.
I think I would have got all 10 of those. I really did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Some of the way that the questions were stated maybe confused.
But I'm an old head. Some of that stuff was, in my time. So,
Yeah.
But we got anything else to add to the You Can't Ban Greatness campaign?
Depending, no matter your product, what really sells the product is you. MJ is what sold the product. The shoes are great. I love them. But they'd be nowhere where they are today without MG's legacy, without his greatness, and with what he did in those shoes. So if you have a product that you believe in, if you have a product that you believe is great, no one can ban that. It's up to you to go out there and show why it's great. MJ showed why he was the greatest and why, it's got to be the shoes. If you know that campaign, kind of the story behind that. So go out there and, show that your product or your brand or whatever it may be is truly great. If you're not the one out there pushing it, then who is?
I love it. You can't ban greatness. If you're great, nobody can ban you. You just got to go out there and prove you're great. So thank you for branding out with us today. Remember, a ordinary brand, a brand that blends in, it gets forgotten. So keep building, keep branding, go out there and stand out and brand out. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We want to connect with you. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let us know what brands you want us to break down next. Follow us on social media for more branding insights, and remember, keep building, keep branding, and always brand out.